Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. In a very recent survey, 46% of Recovery Cafe members reported their biggest struggle during COVID-19 has been their mental health. I myself have struggled with increased symptoms of depression since COVID hit. In our recovery circles at Recovery Cafe, we invite each other into our struggles and joys. Inviting each other into our struggles and joys makes it possible for us to endure pain and to imagine a way forward. At the heart of the Recovery Cafe model is the truth that we all need a place where we are both deeply known and deeply loved. In addition to having a place of being deeply known and loved, I find it helpful to turn to timeless truths. In all of the world's great spiritual traditions, there is a universal pattern of transformation, which involves movement from order to disorder to reorder, or from life to various forms of suffering or death to rebirth. This pattern is constantly at work in both our personal lives and our collective lives, whether we're conscious of it or not. In the order phase, we feel like we are walking on reasonably solid ground. Then something unexpected and usually devastating causes the ground beneath our feet to shift. This is the disorder phase. Next comes the reorder phase, when a whole new reality arises from the collapse of life as we once knew it. The great spiritual teachers remind us that there are no direct flights from order to reorder. We have to go through disorder or some form of collapse to get to reorder or rebirth. I wonder, what new realities are emerging in your life from the disorder we are all experiencing? I would like to simply name the new realities I see emerging for Recovery Cafe, for the Recovery Cafe Network, and for our nation. First, our Seattle Recovery Cafes. When COVID-19 hit, we were forced to find new ways to love and support our members. One of those new ways is our teleconnection program led by brilliant Ruby Takushi. We've been able to distribute phones to connect with all of our members through one-on-one calls and Zoom recovery circles. And even though we are now returning to in-person circles, the teleconnection program that emerged from disorder will continue to be part of how we provide support. We're also in the process of designing outdoor pop-up cafes. More to come on that exciting development. That brings me to what is emerging from the current disorder for the Recovery Cafe Network, made up of 20 recovery cafes across our nation and Vancouver, BC. We have adopted a sixth core commitment to work even more intentionally to end systemic racism and socioeconomic inequality. As you know, the intersection of mental health challenges, racism, and poverty is cruel beyond the imagination. We believe one way we can help transform such cruelty is to spread Recovery Cafe communities that embody unconditional love and reverence for individuals who are often ignored and feared. As Greg Boyle, founder of Homeboy Industries, puts it, only when we can see a community where all who are excluded are valued will we abandon the values that endlessly exclude. Finally, what new reality for our nation is rising out of the current disorder? As everyone who has given birth or witnessed a birth knows, the final stage of labor and delivery is the most dangerous, difficult, and painful. The medical term for this stage is transition. Our nation is in transition. This is the moment to birth a society in which we not only talk about Black lives mattering and about how sacred the lives of Black, Indigenous, and all people of color are. This is the moment to birth a society in which all systems reinforce this truth. This is the moment to reimagine all unjust systems that oppress and exclude, all unjust laws, policies, and practices within the housing, healthcare, education, and criminal justice systems. We cannot let this moment of reckoning pass. This is the moment to address the core issues of privilege and power, who has it and who doesn't. A good friend of Recovery Cafe's, Steve Sundberg, says, being white in America is like having the home field advantage at every game where the refs are friendly and all the fans are rooting for you. It begs the question, what does it matter if we gain the whole world and lose our own souls? The late, much-loved John Lewis said, we all live in the same house. He didn't say we all will live in the same house one day. He said we all live in the same house. People who live in the same house deserve the same privilege, power, and protection. I'd like to close with one more thing I have said at every Standing in the Gap event for the past 16 years that feels more urgent today than ever. We must put our weight down with at least one community seeking to embody the truth that every life is sacred and that we all belong to each other. Because the illusion that some lives are more valuable than others, and the illusion that we are separate from any member of our human family, are the costliest, deadliest illusions of all time. As always, I recommend putting your weight down with Recovery Café. For as we all know, it is not what we cling to, but what we give that makes us fully alive. Thank you for listening.